I am damn sure that Madeleine McCann was not abducted.
Wow. What do you think happened then?
I tend to agree with the Portuguese police.
If she died then, how could we have disposed or hidden her body, when there was an immediate threat? It's just nonsense. So, and if she died when we were in there.
And I just looked, and it was quite dark, and I was just looking at Madeleine's bed, and I was thinking, is that her? I was looking for, why is that Madeleine there?
It was supposed to be a quiet family vacation. A few days by the beach, sunshine, laughter, and the kind of peace every parent dreams of. But on the night of May 3rd, 2007, inside a holiday apartment in Praia da Luz, Portugal, something happened that would haunt the world for decades. 3-year-old Madeleine McCann vanished without a trace. No noise, no struggle, no witnesses, just gone. And now, nearly 2 decades later, in 2025, the case that changed the world has taken another shocking twist. The man once called the prime suspect has just been freed. For years, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann has been more than just a crime story. It became a global obsession, a mystery that touched millions and a tragedy that refused to fade. Madeleine was just 3 years old, blonde hair, bright green eyes, a smile that could melt anyone's heart. Her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, were young British doctors. They had taken a short family trip with friends to the small Portuguese resort of Praia da Luz. It was meant to be safe, peaceful, a break from work. Every night, after putting the kids to bed, the adults dined at a small restaurant just yards away from the apartment, checking on their children every 20 or 30 minutes. But on that one night, everything changed. At around 10 p.m., Kate McCann walked back to check on Madeleine. She opened the bedroom door, expecting to see her little girl fast asleep. Instead, the window was open. The curtain fluttered in the warm night breeze, and Madeleine's bed was empty. Panic turned to chaos. Her parents ran through the resort screaming her name. Madeleine, Madeleine. Within hours, police swarmed the scene. Locals searched the beaches with flashlights. Volunteers combed through the town, but there was no trace. It was as if a child had vanished into thin air. The days turned into weeks, the weeks into years, and the story spread like wildfire. The disappearance of Madeleine McCann became the most famous missing child case in modern history. Every TV station, every newspaper, every talk show, they all asked the same haunting question. What happened to Madeleine? Was she kidnapped by a stranger, sold into trafficking, or something even darker? In the years that followed, the case twisted and turned like a maze with no exit. The Portuguese police first suspected the parents, accusing them of covering up an accident. But there was no evidence. Nothing connected them to a crime. They were eventually cleared. Then came wave after wave of new suspects. Mysterious men seen near the apartment, possible kidnappers, child traffickers, even false confessions. Each time, hope rose, and then collapsed again. Every lead ended the same way, in silence. But in 2020, a new name entered the story. Christian Bruckner, a German drifter, a convicted sex offender. He had lived in Portugal at the time of Madeleine's disappearance. For a moment, it felt like the world was finally closing in on the truth. Prosecutors called him the prime suspect. They said they had evidence he was involved, but then, as always, the case grew murky again. Years passed, and now, in 2025, the world has been hit with yet another shock. Christian Bruckner has been freed. The man once believed to hold the answers walked out of custody. Officials say it's a technical release, pending new evidence. But to millions who have followed the case for 18 long years, it feels like déjà vu. Once again, the investigation stands on shaky ground. Once again, hope flickers and fades. For the McCann family, it must feel like reliving a nightmare. 18 years of searching, hoping, and waiting, with no closure, no answers, and no peace. Kate McCann once said, "We will never give up on Madeleine." And she meant it. Over the years, the couple has faced public suspicion, media storms, and cruel conspiracy theories. But through it all, they've held on to one thing: hope. Hope that their daughter is still out there somewhere. Hope that someone, somewhere, or still knows something. To understand the pain of this case, you have to understand what it took from the world. It changed how parents travel with their children. It changed how police handle international missing child cases. It even changed laws and security systems across Europe. Madeleine became more than a missing child. She became a symbol of innocence lost and of every parent's deepest fear. But as the years passed, the mystery only deepened. There were countless supposed sightings in airports, supermarkets, cities across the world. Each time, people thought they saw a girl who looked like Madeleine. And each time, it turned out to be someone else. Her face became one of the most recognized in the world. Posters, news broadcasts, digital age progression images showing what she might look like as a teenager. And yet, even with all that technology, all those years, and all that attention, nothing definitive ever came. No body, no proof, no peace. And now, this latest 2025 twist has reopened old wounds. Christian Bruckner's release has once again divided opinion. Some believe he remains the key, that he knows exactly what happened that night. Others believe he was a convenient scapegoat, another suspect in a case that's been mishandled since day one. What everyone agrees on, though, is this: something went terribly wrong that night in 2007. A little girl disappeared from her bed, and 18 years later, the world is still no closer to the truth. So what really happened to Madeleine McCann? Did someone watch the family for days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Did she wander out by herself and vanish into the darkness? Or was it a crime far more calculated, something that's been covered up for years? Every theory has been explored, every rumor dissected, and yet none of them feel complete. As we stand in 2025, nearly 2 decades later, the case remains frozen in mystery. Madeleine's parents still hold on, the world still watches, and the question still burns. Where is she? There's no DNA, no confirmed sighting, and no body. Just a story and a photograph of a smiling little girl, frozen in time, who should now be 21 years old. Perhaps one day, the truth will come out. Perhaps someone will finally speak. Or perhaps, like so many cold cases, this one will remain forever unsolved. A haunting reminder of how fragile life can be. Until then, we're left with the same painful silence that's echoed since that night in 2007. A silence that holds a question no one can answer. What really happened to Madeleine McCann? In 2025, as the world reacts to this new twist, the release of the man once seen as the prime suspect, we're reminded that justice doesn't always move forward. Sometimes it circles back, sometimes it fades away, and sometimes it leaves us staring into the same darkness, still waiting for a light that never comes. This wasn't just a story about one child. It's about every parent who's ever lost faith in safety, every detective who's ever chased a ghost, every community that's ever held onto hope long after reason said to stop. Because even after all these years, people still care. Even after all this time, the name Madeleine McCann still sends a chill through millions of hearts. And maybe that's what keeps this story alive. This was Madeleine McCann, Still Unsolved, the 2025 twist that shocked the world. If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Cold Case Uncovered, where we bring you the most haunting mysteries, the coldest cases, and the truths that refuse to stay buried. Because behind every headline, there's a story that still needs to be uncovered.